Okay, hello everyone. My name is Adrian Aziz, and today's topic that I chose for a social issue that I'm doing is poverty. So, I have everything done and whatnot. Today I will be discussing my social issue that is poverty, right? We'll start with the very first one that is called what. The three things are what, so what, now what, and how we can get a solution to fixing the social issue that we face on a daily basis, right? So the very first one is what. So poverty refers to lacking enough resources to provide the necessity of life, food, clean water, shelter, clothing. But in today's world, that can be extended to include access to healthcare, education, and even transportation. So I made a few pros and cons, right? There's obviously more cons than pros, but the pros, we'll start off with the very first ones, which is pros, right? Getting assistance. Assistance. When you are poor, you are able to get assistance from a variety of sources, right? The government, community, organizations, or some sort of family or friends or neighbors, just anyone in general. There's always a hand to always help you out when you're in need, right? So you still have skill development. People without money have the opportunity to develop many skills that rich people will never be exposed to, right? So like rich people always, people with ties, generally speaking, ties and suits, they never touch the hands-on work like plumbing and whatnot. These people kind of need the money, so they'll force themselves to get used to it and get used to hands-on. Those hands-on are the ones that make real money. Those are way better than what rich people have. Moving on. So I only had two pros, but regardless, moving on to cons. So cons, dependency. You can become dependent on the help you receive. Most of the help uses an income ranges as a criteria of many people that are willing to help. If your income is close to outside range, it may be scary to try to increase your income because you know you will stop getting help at some time, right? So then moving on to low esteem. Some people will look down because you are poor. That they may think you are lazy, fat, or stupid. Many people feel ashamed when they are poor, right? So when you're poor, people look down at you and be like, oh, this is. But in reality, this is not what you are, right? So health issues. When you are poor, you may forego nutrition for calories. So you'll save money instead of eating food, which will cause calorie, right? So you'll be thinking like, hey, should I just eat today or should I not eat today? You'll have health problems from there, right? You may gain weight. You may also have medical issues and unsolved. You might have medical issues that are unsolved. Limited network. When you are poor, you tend to have a limited network. Poor people tend to live around with other poor people. These people cannot afford to help you very much since they are barely trying to make ends meet themselves. They also lack the skills and network to help overcome poverty, right? So also then another topic I have is no role models. It is harder to get out of poverty because you don't have a positive role model to show you the way. If you don't see people going to jobs that they like, who they are able to buy the things they want, then they might not see the benefits of working, right? So there's no role model to help them out, right? Be like, hey, do this. Hey, look at this. There's just no one, just them. Being poor is expensive, right? Your credit may be bad because you're not able to pay your bills on time, causing you to pay late fees, increased interest loans, if you even qualify for loans, right? And there's stress. Poverty causes stress. And the stress will often be seen in relationships as the family members argue on how to best juggle the bills and deal with the problems. So this will cause the stress around poverty spins around in circles with family, money, and everything included. Children usually depend on their parents or guardians. They don't have the resources to pull themselves out of poverty. Illness is unsafe water. Oh yeah, and there's illness due to unsafe water and poor sanitization. Malnutrition, for example, like obviously if you're living in poverty, it will lead to stunt growth, right? You won't reach the minimum, like on an average kid should be this tall, this or eat this much, right? And then inaccurate health care, you won't have that too. Now we're moving on to so what? Poverty is linked with negative conditions and housing, homelessness, nutrition, and food insecurity, right? Childcare, lack of access to healthcare, unsafe neighborhoods, and undersourced schools, which impact our nation's children. Poverty is about not having enough money to meet the basic needs, including food, clothing, shelter. However, poverty is much more than just not having enough money. The World Bank organizations describe poverty in this way. Most often, poverty is a situation where people want to escape. If a person doesn't get enough food, they simply don't have the strength and energy needed to work. While they lack the access to food and clean water, can also lead to preventable illness like diarrhea. And when people must travel far distances to clinics or spend what little money remains on medicine, it drains already vulnerable populations of money and assets that can knock a family from poverty to extreme poverty, right? Without a job or a way to make money, people will face poverty. But it's easy to assume that if someone wants a job, they can have one. That just isn't the truth. Particularly speaking, in developing and rural parts of the world, often due to conflict, overpopulation, or climate change, and over resources like over exploitation of resources like fish or minerals is putting increasing pressure on many traditional livelihood. Conflicts can cause poverty in several ways. Large-scale violence that we see in places like Syria can grind to halt, destroy infrastructures, and cause people to flee, forcing families to sell or leave behind their assets. So in generally speaking, like all those kind of immigrants we have in Canada coming in, it's called the poverty, right? War breaks out, everyone's poor, they sell what they have, and they move to like this, Canada or the United States, to rebuild again, have a better life. Because back then, there's no use. So everyone's in poverty, people are trying to escape, sell their homes, and get out. Now what? So half of the poor are children. Women represent a majority of the poor in most regions, and among of those age groups, about 70% of the global poor age group 15 and over have no schoolings or only some basic education. Almost half of the poor people in Africa live just 5 countries: Nigeria, the Democratic Republic, Madagascar, and Ethiopia. About 132 million of the global poor live in areas with high flood risks. The new poor probably will be more urban than the chronic poor, be more engaged in informal services and manufacturing, and less in agriculture. Live in urban settings and work in the sectors most affected by lockdowns and mobility restrictions. Poverty is still a big problem in the world today. As you can see from numbers, this is a bit of the progress that you see around. The good news is that in 2010, only 18% of the world's population was living way below the poverty line, as compared to 36% in 1990 in small victory. But the progress is slow. The problem with poverty is that the causes are extremely complicated with different factors contributing to the problem. Ending it requires more than just economic growth. Developed countries with strong economies still have a significant number of people who are struggling to survive. Okay? So, and then now we're talking about what can we do to solve poverty. Learn about World Vision work about the global poverty. Pray for people's vision around the world. The Bible's prayer guide. So usually, at least we can pray for them, right? For and maybe eventually in the future they can move along. God can help. God can help them. Give lasting change around the world by delivering life-saving help where it's needed most. Help provide access to essentials such as clean healthcare, economy, opportunity, and education. So honestly, if it's government, help them more, I guess, with clean water, healthcare, opportunities, education. Because honestly, now a lot of kids don't have education when they're poor. All right, moving on. So I just want to really touch on bases on just a few other questions that I am on. So how does this kind of like affect the society in Canada? Honestly, like it does, because there would be like family problems that would be causing divorce, family conflict, right? And then poor people have health problems. With health problems, it would less likely to lead people from graduating, like going to school, like as little as I don't want to say high school, but they won't even be able to graduate high school. But also they won't even go to post-secondary because it's expensive, right? You how can like a bank won't trust someone in poverty to give them loans to go to school or whatnot, right? So most likely even high school they have a hard time graduating, right? But also don't forget this will cause more street crimes in the society, right? But also I want to discuss what I learned through my readings about poverty and throughout what I read in class and discussed in the discussion board. What they all have in general, like through all the social problems or whatever I learned, is that they all just have in common. They all nothing. None of them have moved along. Nothing has been done to be helped. I know there are organizations, but what they all have in common is that there'll always be a social issue, no matter where we live in. Now, in the future, back then, it will always be poverty. There'll always be all kinds of social problems. There'll never be an ending one, right? So what we can best do is try our best, help someone in need if we see them, even as little as giving a homeless man some food or some change to get by for his day. Anyways, thank you for watching. And this was my video about the social issue about poverty. And I hope everyone else has a wonderful day. Thank you.